Hey ladies and gents, it's Zem back, and we're going to be starting a new series in World of Tanks on what I'm going to call his historical tanks of World War II. And these tanks are going to be just tanks that fought in World War II, right? Nothing produced shortly after World War II, nothing in the 50s, nothing prototyped, nothing. These are tanks that were built and fought during World War II, right? And we're not, like I said, we're not talking about the paper tanks that they produced after 1945, or like the IS-3s and those kind of tanks that did not actually partake in the battles of World War II. And I'm going to cover the British, the Americans, some of the French. Yeah, I'm going to cover all these tanks that were, of course, historical tanks that fought in World War II. And I love World of Tanks, but sometimes they get a little carried away with some of the things they do with the paper tanks and all that kind of stuff at the higher tiers, or the late 50s, early 60s, mid 60s, late 60s tanks. But I started playing this game just for the reason of the historic tanks of World War II. And I'm actually going to start out with the Nashorn. This is one of the tanks that nobody ever really, as far as I can tell, really plays a lot in this game. Which is kind of sad. This is one of my favorite tanks. I've just started trying to 3MOE the tank, and I thought, it'd be a good tank to start out with because nobody sees it around a lot, and I'm not sure if everybody really knows that much about it. So, Operation Barbarossa. The Germans were staggered to a certain degree when they ran into T-34s and KVs. These tanks were well armored, and the tanks the Germans were using at the time we're having a little bit of a difficult time destroying these new Russian tanks. So in 1942, they decided, we need help, and we need help now. We're not going to wait for a production tank to show up, actually to produced tank destroyer. We're going to essentially build something that's going to give mobility to our high-powered anti-tank guns, specifically the 8.8. So in 1942, they used essentially the chassis of the Panzer III and the Panzer IV, and put a lightly armored box, basically, just to put this massive 88 on this tank. Production started, I believe, in late 1942, early 1943 of this tank, and continued all the way to 1945 with 494 of these vehicles produced. It was first used in the Battle of Kursk. What's kind of fascinating about this tank is, it wasn't produced in large numbers, I should say, and it wasn't a special built necessarily tank destroyer. This was a hurry in production, get this tank on the battlefield because we need help right now. What they did choose for this tank, though, which is kind of fascinating, is the 88L71. Probably, in my opinion, if you can really want to look at it, maybe the most powerful anti-tank gun of World War II. I mean, there's going to be arguments between the 17-pounder, the Americans 90 millimeter, the Russians 122 or even 152. But for just sheer penetration and range, high velocity, I mean, this had a velocity of 1,100 and roughly 50 meters a second, and with a tungsten cord APCR round, essentially, this gun could put a shell through 190 millimeters of armor, angled at 30 degrees. That is ridiculous. and of course, we know this gun more famously because it was later mounted on the Jag Panther, and then of course it was also mounted on the King Tiger. The Tiger II. This is the Tiger II's gun, and this is what made this vehicle. This boxy thing with tracks on it didn't really matter a whole lot. This was the heart of this machine, and when it was first used in Kursk, it was highly effective. I mean, this thing fucking knocked everything out, everything it run into. It's just like, no, this is your armor's cheese. I don't care how much you got. We're gonna put a shell through it, and Unfortunately, like I said, with the lightly armored aspect of it, it was relatively proof against small arms. Definitely not heavy machine guns. So this was not a frontline tank. This was an ambusher, and it really shined on the Western Front because it was dealing with tanks at extreme ranges, 1 kilometer plus most of the time. And in fact, up until the 1990s, I believe the 1991 Gulf War, I believe that. Someone's going to have to check. 91 Gulf War, the 2002 Gulf War, when the Challenger had a 5,100 meter kill on a tank. I do believe this thing held the record for the longest tank kill ever recorded. Now, this is where it kind of gets kind of dodgy because there's two different records kind of bandied around. One of them was at about 3,500 meters against an IS. This could pen an IS, no problem. So at 3,500 meters, which is 3.5 kilometers, this destroyed a heavy tank. The other one was at 4,500 meters against the T-34. Either and or, whether you want to believe it or not, 3,500 or 4,500, whatever. And we're not talking digital computers and none of this shit. This was sighted through a glass, and that was a 3-second flight for that shell to get there, considering the muzzle velocity, which is still pretty damn impressive for World War II. But yeah, so this is apparently had the record for the longest kill in World War II. And there's some people said it was the Ferdinand, but most historical accounts that I've read so far pinpoint the Nashorn as the tank that was able to destroy these targets at well over 3 kilometers. By 1943, this was going to be, well, it wasn't outdated or obsolete by no means with its gun, but by that time, special built specific tanks such as the Jagdpanther and the Jagdpanzer IV were just coming in production, and the Nashorn never stopped production, but it definitely slowed down production of this group. But it was still produced all the way up till 1945. In fact, I think one of its last kills was in the March. Actually, they actually knocked out a T-26. American Heavy was one of its last recorded kills, I believe in March or April of that year. So yeah, kind of a fascinating piece of machinery. From what I can tell, there is actually... oops. Come on. I know I got it here somewhere. There we go. 3 of these in existence. 2 of them are in static display, and one of them is currently being reworked to running condition. This one right here is the U.S. Army Ordnance Museum in Aberdeen, Maryland. These are some actual in-war game, or not game. There's not fucking. Oh, I'm losing it, fellas. From the actual World War II battlefield of the Nashorn, and this one I kind of find interesting because it kind of gives you an idea how big this tank was. That is an M4 Sherman, and that is a Tiger 1. It's a rather massive piece of machinery. So, yeah, interesting little piece of history. That's what I liked about this game when I first started playing it, was the history of this tanks, and playing the tanks. It's always kind of fun to stroll around with them. So in that sense, but that's what we get. So what do we get in game? Well, we do. This is probably one of the few tanks that kept the historical accuracy fairly well. It is mounted with an 8.8 L71. Most tanks you run into this game are usually upgunned by quite a bit in some cases. But this is one that didn't need to be upgunned because it carried the fucking 88 L71. It didn't need to be. This is a Tier 6 German tank destroyer. 240 average pen, 203 average penetration. That is Tier 6. This has no problem dealing with the vast majority of Tier 8 heavy tanks you run into. That's what's so epic about it. It doesn't care. Tiger 2s, IS-3s now. Fuck you, we're just going to put a shell right through you. 11.29 rate of fire, 5.32 rate of reload speed, 27.73 for the traverse speed, -5 gun depression, and 15 on the gun traverse limits. 1.78 second aim time. Oh, that's so sweet. 0.3 dispersion, and 2,709 average damage per minute. Yeah, fucking ridiculous. 600 hit points. 30 on the front, 20 on the sides, 20 on the rear. Don't get fucking shot. People love to shoot HE at this thing, and artillery loves you all night long. They just, fuck, I don't know how many times I've gotten one-shotted by artillery. If they just get a peek at you and you're dead. 27 tons, 250 engine horsepower, and a real nice, a pretty decent concealment considering that it's German. You know, I mean, obviously it's not Russian, so it doesn't get the magic cloaking device and all that other bullshit. But yeah, 31.37 is still pretty decent. 388 view range, not too shabby. And I'm running my all-female crew in this thing. You know, like I said, I've always liked this tank, and I've come back to it after a little bit here, just to give it a whirl, and yeah, and see if I could finally 3 MOE this tank after a long period of time. I'm running camouflage net and a medium tank rammer, and eventually probably buy another set of binocs or coated optics for it when I eventually get around to it. But yeah, it's 25 AP, of course, is 203, and the APCR rounds are 237. So yeah, very good penetration with its APCR rounds. I mean, that's better than some Tier 8 tanks pretty easily. In fact, its AP round is almost as good as some of the Tier 8 medium tanks. I mean, that's how good the penetration on the 88L71. If I had my choice, I'd have the 88L71 on every German tank. I don't give a fuck what it. Put it on my mediums, put it on my heavies. I don't care. Give me the 5-second reload or whatever it is on this gun. I just love it that much. So I'm gonna bring up the gameplay for you guys to check out this little murder machine, and you can see what it can do. Hey guys, back with the first game in the Nashorn. I'm playing with Bjorn, 1984. And his Tiger 131. He is one of my clanmates in GG channel. He has World of Warplanes and World of Tanks videos on there if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I think he has a Twitch stream too, but you'd have to go look it out. But anyway, so we're back to Campanova. This brings back memories. This was one of the first original maps when you played this game. I've been running around this thing on Tier 1s and Tier 1. Yeah, Tier 1. Can you imagine this map in Tier 1? So, I'm looking here. I got a couple of questions here. Any field runners? And this is what I always liked about playing TDE roles. You always want to make sure to watch your light tanks. So I got a Chaffee here and an AMX ELC. It looks like they're getting kind of brave. So I'm going to move up here into a bush. And this is exactly how you should be playing this tank. This is no... This is no Jagdpanzer 4. I mean, Jagdpanzer 4 has got weak armor, but it's got way better armor than this. And it's definitely no JP2 or Ferdinand. So you do not want to get shot. You want to find a bush. You want to hide in that bush. You want to love that bush, because anything else, you are going to get your shit wrecked by everything. Like that Chaffee that just died next to me, or next Chaffee that just died. A perfect example. He will fucking wreck your shit. And of course the Archer here that is also hanging out here. So pick up the T-67, finish him off, and you're going to watch why you don't sit there for long periods of time. Yeah, at least until you clean up all the little shit that's close. So hide behind the tree here a little bit here, and see if we can get ready for the next shot here. The M4 is sitting out in the open with a shell velocity. Don't pick up the M4, but I'm going to look here for the Chaffee. You know, historically with this tank, this is what it did. Eastern Front, long engagements. Wow, except for when I shoot at a Chaffee. He's got that invisible force field up there that won't let me shoot him. But yeah, long range engagements, that's your bread and butter. Try to keep outside of if anything, at possible, try to keep it between the white and the yellow line as much as possible, unless you have a pretty nice little bush like I do here, where I can stay back far enough to shoot. However, pick up the OI experimental, put the first shell out there and missed. I don't know how I missed, but I did. We'll wait till he picks up here because this T-67's up there spotting him. Find the experimental. With this gun, you don't really have a problem with heavy tanks, especially in your own tier. Same way with Tiger 1s, ISs, IS-3s, Tiger 2s. With 203 base pen, there's nothing fucking you can't really shoot with this gun that it's not going to go through. Just like the historical tank, the pen is not that far off of what it could actually do. Back up, get behind my bush so they can't see me. Pick up the SU-100Y. We're sitting up at 6.3 already and at 1,423 damage. This thing just dishes it out. Like I said, it's a long-range sniper gun. Try to find a bush, try to or at least play outside of that. Whether you're going to where the white ring and the yellow ring is, that little sweet spot in between. If you can keep tanks in there and you don't really have to worry about getting spotted, you can lay down some pretty amazing numbers on this thing. So looking, I got a Strev here. Oh yeah, there we are, Mr. Chaffee. And for the amount of tanks that have not been spotted, pretty good chance there's a bunch of them kind of hanging out around base, or at least up on the C5 area. Go around the corner here and I think better of it. Nah, this isn't where I want to be. This thing is not very mobile, and of course it's not very well armored, so you really got to be careful with it. I'm not a big fan of bush camping, but when you play these glass cannons on this specific line of German TDs, you have to be, like I said, you have to watch what you're doing here. So I'll pick up the OI sitting up on the top corner up there. Oh, there we go. Sadly, I only actually get one of these shells to actually pen. I thought I was getting a bunch, but I only actually had one. But I'm still going to be taking some shots out there and see if I can knock something out. They unfortunately turned it around to 6-1 already. Pick up the T-34, put a shell into him, and got the KV-1, put a shell into him for 252. This thing hits like sometimes hits like a truck. It's got such nice pen, and like I said, really nice damage. With that 5-second reload, this thing's putting close out to 2,700 damage. I mean, that's quite impressive at tier 6, really, when you think about it. So we kind of even up 8-7. I'm sitting at 3 kills. We got, there's the KV-1. How you doing, buddy? Show me your turret. Oh, 239, puts a shell into him. I'm kind of sitting here in relatively close to this bush, but there's bush here and a bush over there, so they're not going to pick up my muzzle blast. So sitting up about 2,000 damage right now, and I'm just going to hang out here and see what I can do. Yeah. So there's 1 Cromwell left, and there's 2, 4, 5 tanks. So there's got to be at least 4 tanks probably going to be sitting right here. Pick up the Ram 2, and I'm really tempted to pull out into that open and see what I can do. Yeah, put a shell at the Ram 2, missed that one completely. As much as I like to be able to put those shells out there at the little red dots, it's not an easy thing to do. I think there's a little bit of lag, of course, the difference between where you're shooting and what you're actually going to hit. So pick up the Jackson, put one into his upper plate for some reason, so I'm going to aim here for the idler finally. There we go, now we got his idler. So we're just going to see if we're going to keep shooting him until he dies. Unfortunately, I think that one actually went into the ground. And I'm almost down to my... There we go. Finish off the Jackson. Puts me up to 2,300 showing. And we're looking here. Let's see what we can find. So we got 2 tanks left, a T-34 and a Wolverine. We're going to start pushing up a little bit here and see what we can find. Oh, there's the T-34. Nope. And the Wolverine's going to be on the backside. So all said and done, I got 2,300 showing with the blind shots I had on everything. I ended up with like 2831, I believe is what I had. So it was a high caliber medal and 5 kills. Unfortunately, yeah, they're not going to give it to me. They never do. That's alright. I already have like 800 of fucking things, so it's not like I need any more shiny, blingy things. I'd rather have the damage. So, about 2,831 damage, so not a bad game in the old Nashorn. Got one more game for you, and surprise, surprise, it's going to be on this map again. Of course, it's going to be against higher tier tanks. These maps right here, the Campanovas, Fjords, Fisherman's Bay, a lot of these TD maps, this is kind of what it goes. So, but I did play a couple games tonight, and this is one of them. And I got, another one I think is a Campanova game too. So bring that up for you guys to. No, you know what? Yeah, scratch that. I'm gonna bring up the D-Day one because we've already watched Campanova, so it's like, right? So, yeah, one more game for you guys, and we'll call it a good night. Alright guys, back with the second video. I was going to do another Campanova. I might still do that one. I don't know yet. The other Campanova's game was better than this one, but you know what? I'm going to try something a little different here. We're going to go with this one on D-Day. Once again, glass cannon. Find that bush, hug that bush, and just enjoy the beautiful, fabulous 88 on this gun. You know, if you're careful enough, you can, Himmelsdorf and stuff like that. You're still going to do a lot of damage. You just have to, play it right, take your shots, and try not to get to wreck here. So I'm going to pull back here into the bush here and try to support the 890 line as best I can. We don't seem to have anybody headed to the beach, so life is good. Beach push, best push. We do have a Churchill that has taken up residence up against the bunker over there. Heavy tanks, that's a good place for you. Heavy tank number 6 is going to come over here too, so I'm looking here to see if I can pick up any guys poking up over the top here. Once again, do not be afraid to use this as I'm doing here. People give you shit about camping with it. You just don't have the armor or really the HP to a certain degree, even to deal with, derp M4s will wreck the shit out of this tank. So try, like I said, don't get spotted. Just play the best positions that are available to you, which lets you to get in positions like this, where you're just going to be sitting and watching. Kind of want the T-150 to show back up here, but he's not going to do it for me. They wrecked the Valentine. So they're already down 2-1. So I pick up the Covenator, finish him off with an ammo rack. It wasn't even fair. PZ T25. Ooh, there we are, buddy. He's not pulling over yet here, so I'm going to look for the T-150 here. He's hiding behind that rock, but I do got a fair amount of tanks coming in. See if I get a shot off. Doesn't quite get in on him, but he pulls up here, and I should have probably shaved that shot, but I didn't. Trying to see if I can get up the T-25. I can't find him. We got the KV-1 pushing across. Oh, what are you going to do, buddy? Aim a little too low, and the HT number 6 is going over the top. I don't know about that deal, but I guess we're going to see what it is. I keep watching for the T-150, because that where it can get kind of iffy if he decides to push off here. Pick up the Swedish Sav Import 3, put one shell into him, and one more for him too. And for some reason I was having some ping issues. Yeah, things weren't not working out the best for me. Sometimes seems like it was jumping from targets. I'm trying to get onto the target. Bounce one off the KV-1. Churchill's dealing with him here. Pick up the KV-1 from the side, and I don't know how, but yeah, completely missed it. Go figure. Pick up the other T-25 again, put another shell into him. Ooh, finish him off. This was looking actually pretty sad here for a little bit. Finish off the PZ-4. So now I got the T-150 here, Blue Duck. He's rolling through here for me. Put one into his track. Get him tracked here. shoot from a... Oh, God, I love the armor on them T-150s. Second one, same spot, goes right in, and now he doesn't know what to do. Pick him up again, put another shell into him, 231. Yeah, this, like I said, this gun just absolutely wrecks. So I'm going to pull over here. I got the T-14 pulling in here, and they're doing a pretty nice bang-up job of, nailing shit here. So I pull over on the T-14. Yeah, game is pretty much over with. Pick up the T-14 coming through, put the first shell into him for 261, and I thought he was going to come up a little bit, but he didn't. He ended up going that way. So pick him up again. Oh, like I said, this was my trouble here earlier about not being able to actually keep on target here. So one more shell into him. Oh shit! And about 2,200, and then the artillery starts to rain in on me. This is what I was talking about. They finish him off. I'm tracked. I can't get moving. And as I do, I, of course, end up dying to the artillery. Kind of one of them deals is like, what are you going to do? So anyway, we ended up winning this game. And I'm actually going to bring you the Campanova video just because it was against higher tier tanks than my own tier. So we'll bring one more for you guys to watch. Alright, back into the last game here, and I'm actually bottom tier, so this is a little bit more of an idea what this tank can do. We got the KV-5, they got 3 tier 8s, some 7s, and the lowly bottom tier 6s. Once again, great side, Campanova. Unfortunately, I don't get my great scout tanks I did in the last game, so this is going to be a little bit longer to rack up some decent damage here. Actually, we have no scout tanks more. I look at it now. Never mind. Got some mediums. IS-6 versus KV-5. This should be interesting. And I'm going to pull over here just a little bit to the other side now and see what I can see here. I was kind of hoping something was going to get spotted right along that train wreck that happens along the side of this shore. Doesn't seem to be anything there though. So, but I do at this point, if you don't know, those tree line up there seems to be a fair amount of people like to sit up in there. And that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm just going to start blind firing up into those bushes. Even if I don't hit anything, just if they feel the tracer go by, a lot of times it'll back them off. And they're not as interested as before to sit up on top of that hill right there. So T-43 keeps popping that bush right there. Like I said, they like to sit along that tree rows, both down on the bottom of that little ridge and up on top. Tree goes down right there. Let's see if we can find something there. Put a shell in there. And surprise, surprise, I do end up hitting 2 of these blind shots on these tanks sitting up on this ridge. But like I said, you just see me keep popping up here at the blind spots and see if I can pick them out here. Pick up the T-43. Ooh, that nice little snapshot with the relatively quick aim time and accuracy of this gun. You can pull that off. So now we're just going to watch here. Not a lot happens for a little bit. This is the happens when you get, 2, 4, 5 TDs and 3 artillery when half your tanks are essentially not very mobile here. Gets to be kind of a campy game, but you can only do what you can do with this tank. This is not a push tank. Like I said, it's not a JP2 or a Ferdinand at tier 8. Certainly not a Jagdtag or a tier 9, and definitely not a Jagdpanzer E100. So you have to play it a little bit more campy compared to the other German line. These are nothing but glass cannons here. All the way up to the Borsig and on up into the grill. It's going to prepare you for those kind of tanks and whatnot. But historically, that's what this tank did. It did not engage frontally most tanks on the Western Front. It was a long-range engagements, 1,000 meters plus. That's the thing. That's what it did. It did not do street fighting. It didn't, it sat in the back of the German lines, well camouflaged, ambush Russian tanks when they're moving around, stuff like that. And this is one of those tanks you have to play it that way to be somewhat successful. If you don't play it like that, you're going to end up getting wrecked a lot here. Pick up the crazy ass T-34 to 85M. Not sure what that was about. There he is. Put another shell into him. And yeah, put us up to about 882 showing. We're going to back up here and see what we can find. Scorpion G, Scorpion I should say, is sitting over here to the bottom of this. That's just an odd place for a no armored TD. So pull back around. SU-152 had killed the IS-6 up on top of the hill. We knocked out their KV-5, so we're sitting about 5-3 here. So I'm going to move up here a little bit closer here and see what I can do. Pick up the Scorpion G backing up. There you are, buddy. And like I said, be patient, and you will pick up damage in this tank. There we go. Thank you, Borsig. So, move up here. It's sitting at 7-3 here. Pick up the M4E2. And first one bounces. And what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? And the second one bounces. There we go. Now he's sitting up nice and steady for me. Put another shell into him. 256. And, yeah, put another shell out there. Puts us up to about 1,350. And I'm one of those people that do just blind fire at shit, because you never know. Sometimes you miss, sometimes you hit, sometimes you kill shit. So, yeah. So the M4E2 is hanging out over there on that side. Hummel's picked up the ISU-152, and it's looking a little interesting here. We got the Tiger P at base yet. We got the M4 sitting over there on the back side of that little ridge. They have the hill, and surprise, surprise, the T-28 has made it all the way to the top of the fucking hill, and now he's kind of wondering whether he's going to come off the hill or not. Yeah, between this one and the other one, I think I played 8 games in it today, so it didn't work out too bad. Pick up the Tiger P coming through here. Oh, pick one shell into him, 222, get him in the track, and screw it. We're just going to shoot at him until he's dead. Put up another shell. Oh, finish him off. Puts me up to about 1982. Oh, there's the Scorpion G. Put one into the Scorpion G, not quite finish him off. Pick up the T-25 Tash 2. I don't know if he was just totally fucking clueless or what. So it puts me up to about 2,500 showing. I actually did get one shot, so it put me up to a little bit over 2,700. One of those blind shots did actually connect, so wasn't too shabby for, once again, this map is literally made for this tank. So Campanova, like you said, Red Shire, those kind of tanks or maps where you got wide open spaces and long distances, really lets this tank shine. And even with, like I said, a little bit over 2,700 damage, I do believe I made around 60,000 credits, so not too shabby in a tier 6. So move on up here. Got one left to kill, and then we finish him off. So I hope this. I'm going to be doing a couple of these different tanks, for these historical reviews. So we'll do the M4s, we'll do the Churchills, we'll do all of them. Hope you guys stick around to watch them and see what you guys think.